A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome inside Brunch on 107.7. When I say welcome, and I say we thank you for being here, I, of course, speak of my co-host, Sharmain Baboolal. Good morning to you, Sharmain. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Bishop. How are you? You always asking me the questions. How are you this morning?
This morning, I think I'm doing pretty good. I woke up and you and I would have that inside joke, but maybe I should share it. I got lights.
Oh, good. There's light in his life, finally.
There is light in my life. It is not marriage. Stop it. We are talking literally about enough of that. So what's our purpose here? Our purpose here is, of course, to bring the topics in our world before you, to talk about them, to hear your view on them, and maybe if we bring you the elucidation, you will bring us further education. We are thankful that you are here. Welcome inside Brunch. A full plate for us today, Sharmain.
Okay, we start off with good news. We set you on a positive note. We're speaking today about the jewel of Crown Trace, because as we speak right now, the interreligious organization has organized a peace march in Enterprise Dragonas based on all of the violence and literally unrest that has been experienced there. And a couple of weeks ago, we had on the program Akila Molan, our national footballer, who's now playing with the national team in Canada at the Pan Am Games, and she escaped with her life from being a victim, collateral damage, as we know it's harshly called in Trinidad, in a shootout. But there is good everywhere we look for it, and we find it.
Yes, indeed. And with that good, we get into our first guest. He is Nicholas Griffith. He is the football coach for Crown Trace and Enterprise. We have...
Not a problem. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Brunch at 107.7. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just as excited as the players.
And we are excited too. The thing that you and I have in common is singular. I have never played football at all. You only had a scrimmage. And yet you excel in some amazing ways.
We want to establish that you are in Miami with the Crown Trace Football Cup, the under-18 team it is, yeah? And you are competing in the biggest and most prestigious youth soccer tournament in the United States, which is the Disney Cup. And you would be in Orlando now, would you?
Yes, we are. We are in Orlando, Florida.
Have you played any games as yet? We start off by asking.
Not yet. The tournament haven't started yet. Our first game is actually on Tuesday, but we actually have a practice game tomorrow in Florida itself.
Okay, well, Mr. Bishop will take you now.
Well, I'm going to take it because I'm happy that Sharmain laid this foundation, and Sharmain knows about the football. Like I said, the closest I got to the field was to hit the ball once and then run away. But dealing with what was your impetus for putting together this group is what, to me, is the single area I must salute. And I made the joke in breaking the ice about not having played football. You really did not take that seriously, but you saw a need. And in seeing that need, you said, what would be my best galvanizing tool? And you found that to be in football. A very difficult area that folks are now paying attention to today, but from your account, it has been an at-risk community for a long time. Set the scene, set the stage for what Crown Trace and Enterprise was before everyone picked it up in the newspaper, please. With the youths in the area, I mean.
Yes. Well, I have always realized, a lot of person has always described the community as an at-risk community. We have had our challenges. We have had a lot of some social ills which has been plaguing the community, but as to how it is now in the news, it has never been like this before. Persons were never afraid to be out of their houses. Persons were never afraid to be out after certain hours. I myself don't come out after 8, It have never been like this. But now I've really came to the understanding as to the reason for being involved in such activity, which I think is actually divine. It's a divine order. If you understand.
I understand exactly what you're saying. Bringing these young men together, and then you find yourself in an area of the crowning glory, as you said, is when you receive the FIFA award. But en route to getting there, how difficult it was to galvanize the community around your idea, and as such, organizations to get involved in such a thing, because, as I said, you saw the need and you moved to correct it. Explain how difficult that was, and quantum leap me into where we are today and the struggles you have.
Well, having youths within the community where they I don't want to say that they don't like rules, but getting involved in sports, there are a lot of rules. It instills discipline. So having started off in the beginning, there are a lot of challenges where the players would be very ill-disciplined. There are sometimes, even presently, it would have a lot of ill-discipline issues because they probably are accustomed to that type of lifestyle. So it would be like a struggle. But at the end of the day, you know exactly what you wanted. So what I needed to do was keep very, very patient with them, and sometimes all they needed was just a little bit of attention. So rather than having to use the stern stick, I needed to be humble and show some sort of love and, consideration, some sort of compassion to them, because it was very, very, very a tough time, especially with my first team, where the majority of the members are here who have been with us from inception of the football club. It was really a struggle, and I can remember one or two times on the football field I always had to part one or two fights. But now they get to understand rules and discipline and more order, so they are more well behaved. As pertains to where we are now, I would say that the club actually, Lasana Liebert, he wrote an article entitled Jewels of Crunchies after we won the prize. And I would define my club and my players as jewels of Crunchies, because despite the activities that have been making highlights in the news now, I can say that the club members are not involved in it, and they have chosen a different role where a person can look at them and say they are from Crunchies, they are from that enterprise community, and they haven't chosen to go down that road. So therefore the rules, it have guided them, and it has shaped their lives and instilled a lot of values in them.
How was it? I think Bishop is wanted to I think you wanted to find out how is it to work the patience that you require to work with them, because it would then what you're technically telling us is that we lack patience across the board, because we have so many huge pockets of at-risk youths across the country. Has anyone ever asked that your formula be used somewhere else because it is successful? And I'm sure it takes more than just patience to do this.
Of course, it takes more than patience. What I know persons have asked is how I do it.
How do you
They always ask, how do I do it? I think that you need to spend a lot of time around them. And it's not just the football in itself, because we were trained for, say, in each age group probably like twice a day. But apart from training, we'll have other social activities. We might go to the mall. We might, go to have pizza, probably KFC. We would go on different outings, and I think it's building a relationship with the players. Rather than sport, the sports will teach discipline. The other activities will teach socialization. Apart from that, what I do is I help with academic lessons. So you show them how overall, rather than sports, you have an interest in them excelling. So we give the discipline in the football, of course. It's a game of rules. Apart from that, we socialize in terms of other activities. We help with the lessons, so they understand that we care for them. And I am a God-fearing person, and they go to church with me as well. They go to church with me. So that is actually my formula. Spiritual, academic, physical, in all aspects. That is what I do, and they get to understand that coach, the team, we have an interest in the youth. We have an interest in them to help see them change their lives around. That's what we do.
A very modest 28-year-old jewel of Crown Trace. He is the coach of the football team that's currently training in Florida. I want to go into one part of this life lesson you talk about, because, again, people see by example. In 2013, you had a challenge there where even your faith was challenged, and you thought about quitting because Tishon Miller, a member of your very first team, was in a shootout with the police, passed on. And I think the way you handled that that is the sort of example that you were alluding to, that you need to pass on to the kids, that life will bring you adversity, but this is how you deal with it. Personally, it may have been difficult for you. How difficult was it, and how did you overcome carrying that pain and that loss to those under your charge to get them geared up to move on again?
I mean, it was very difficult because when the club started, this is how the club started. I was walking in my community, and I saw Tishon, actually, him and two other friends. And I said, well, I always had the thoughts before, but this is what happened at that instance. I said, you all want to play football? And Tishon was the guy that answered. He said, yes. And I said, well, go get some friends, and we would have a camp, a football camp, 9 to 12. It was a Christmas holiday. And he said, good. And Tishon was the person who went and got all the players. Tishon would have been here with us today. He was the guy who was open-minded. He was open. He was loud. And he would always want to get things going. So, and with that memory in my mind, Tishon was always a nice person. He always had a big heart, you know, and he was one that would come to church with me all the time, you know. So having that good understanding, a good relationship with him, it was very, very challenging. I thought at one point in time, the reason why I wanted to give up is when I saw that happen, I said to myself, I failed, honestly, because I was saying that I'm in this to help them, not to see any one of them get killed. And I can remember distinctively, clearly, Tishon being there in training session. I always used to tell them, don't ever be part of these statistics. And that, up to this day, it's still ringing out in my head. And Tishon, I can remember him asking me, Coach, what do you mean by these statistics? I said, don't ever be a part of the murder rate. Don't let me ever see your face, your name on the papers for being murdered, for being in robbery, for being raping or whatever. I always tell them that because we always have a talk. And when that happened, it just flashback of all the talks we had before training. And I was weak. And the only reason why I didn't give up is because I said to myself, if I give up on them now, how many? How many? And I really can't handle seeing another one go down that road. And that is what kept me. Mm-hmm. I said, how many if I don't continue? Because I really thought I failed. I really thought so. I was heartbroken. And I just held on. I said, no, I can't give up on the rest of them. And I'm thinking now that if I did give up at that point in time, look at what the community has been described as and highlighted as now. So how many of them would have been dead by now? How many of them would have been a part of the gang? And these are the things that keep me. When I look at what's taking place now, I say to myself, you have to hold on. Because at one point in time, I didn't even understand why I was in it. Before I started to get the passion and the joy of being around them, I was just trying to ask God, why am I in this?
But Nicholas,
but now...
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I clearly understand.
Finish
I said, but now I clearly understand.
Okay. How difficult or how easy would it have been for you to get support? I'm getting the impression you're almost doing this alone. To get that support from... Did you get support from parents? And what kind of support, or where was it lacking? How did you have to dig into these guys and pull them up? How difficult was it? What's the kind of support that you got from the community at the very beginning? Because I see now that you have expanded, because you're having like a talent program coming up next month at the recreation ground and all of that, where I see that because you would have had to work first, and then when you had positive results, people would have come in. Is that the case of what happened with you?
Well, what have happened over the years, I mean, I've never had any support. I've never had any support. And I still had to keep on going. You know, the youths, they are very talented. So very few parents, when I say very few, I mean minimal, like 2 or 3 would come out to the games. And they always do well. The players, they always do well. We have a lot of cups, a lot of trophies from a lot of competition. But the support, community support, is very poor. What I know that now, what I can say now is after that for power football victory, the club has grown, I would say, by 100%. Apart from that, we were able now to form a committee, a team. We actually have a team: president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and we are now more organized. Right, so this is where you would see that we could have different councils, because there are a lot of things I would love to have in the past, but it's because I don't have that amount of support. You know, for over those years, I have done everything on my own. I've not taken glory, but I've done it on my own. I had no choice to, because if I don't, I always said to myself, because I get weary sometimes, I get tired sometimes, and I say to myself, if I don't, who will? You know, and what also gave me the encouragement is when the players, they come and tell you they see your hard work and they appreciate it. But over the years, I've never really had much support at all, but I still kept on going because I had to do it. As I said before, if I don't, who will?
And Bishop,
if I don't, who will?
Clarify, the Power Football Award is a FIFA award.
Yes.
That was given to the Crown Trace Football Club for its positive impact on the community.
Right. And that's a really powerful thing. You went on to do something, as I said, you know, you're teaching by example. You yourself went and got yourself a refereeing course because you thought you wanted to be more for your kids. You went on to get yourself the management course that you did. You also went on to get an associate degree in business management. So all along the way, you keep telling the kids this is how you can step up and be better for yourself. They were told by one elder in the community at one time that you should change the name of the football club to remove the stigma attached to it. You refused then, and even though some folks still call it, what they call it now, the bandit side from Crown Trace, how are you getting the kids with what is happening now to realize they must walk past that and encourage others to do like they are doing? How much easier is that now with the success of your team?
I think with the reality of what is happening in the community, it is like an eye-opener, you know. It's making my task a bit easier, having to talk for an hour, explaining that negativity is not the way. I think they're seeing clearly exactly what is happening in front of them. And the only disadvantage rate is that they're afraid now to come to the Savannah. They are very afraid. But they want to be a part of it now, because they don't want to end up in the gang. But it have a struggle now. How are we going to get to this Savannah? Because there are some persons from certain communities who really can't. They really can't come, you know. And of course, apart from that, I continue talking with them. And I show them all my certificates all the time. My bachelor degree, I show them it. I show them my associate's degree. I show them my referee scores, my C license, my D license in coaching. I show them it all. Just as a form of motivation, I show them it, you know. And, yeah, I think the eyes have been opened with exactly what is taking place within the community. Much more.
5 months after, as the Bishop raised the point of you losing Tishon Miller that had you down, and we take it joint some reference because Lasana Library is about probably the only person who would have given you that credit that you earned, you know. You had good news, Tanisha Palmer, who played goal for your club, and before she joined St. Anne's Rangers, and she broke into the national women's team in October 2013, and was the starting goalkeeper at the 2014 CONCACAF Under-20 Women's Tournament. How many other players have you had moving out of the club into another level?
I have had there's this young guy who he trained under me, because I also train with Shogunas North Secondary School. I'm the head coach there. And that's Dion Ogaro. He actually got a full scholarship, and he is studying at Wiley College in Marshall, Texas, which that is a great accomplishment because I always wanted that for my players. Right? There are other persons, if not in sports, but from the community who have excelled academically, who have played football for me, and I could mention one or two. There's this guy from the community, Jael Jeffrey. He also played with my school club as well. He's now a police, and he was successful in his Cape studies. He did Cape. That's to the top of my mind right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's to the top of my mind right now.
So are they coming back to help you? And that's one. And the other thing too is I've seen that you worked with live sport, the much maligned live sport. And how did live sport really help, and did it help at all? Because we hear so much about it, and here's an opportunity to find out if it was any good at all.
How has it helped in what way?
Well, with your club, as it's supposed to help, the intention was for a community, to help communities, to help young athletes and stuff who are at risk.
No,
live sport.
Live sport, that's something totally different from what I do in my community. What I was a regional manager at live sport, attached to the southeast. I would have never been anywhere down central. I was just the overseer of that. And live sport weren't really to help out clubs. They were to help out, they would have a center within the community, and the only center within Central that would have been Chrissy Trees, but it had nothing to do with clubs who were underneath Central Football Association. It had no alignment with that at all. No alignment.
But you were a regional manager for one area, so how can you just, as we have you here, help us to know how it worked and how on the ground that?
Live sport itself rather than alignment with my club, Crown Chase.
Yes, live sport itself.
Okay, cool. I believe live sport did help because I was in charge of the Southeast, which would have been Mayaro, Moruga, Mondiablo, Siparia, and Pinal, right? And after live sport closed down, it's very sad to say that I know for sure there's at least two young men from the Penal Center got killed. Two. Mm-hmm. I know that for sure. Yeah. And it really helped. It really helped because the majority of the day the participants spent in the community center, and then in the afternoon period would be out on the field. And after that, it would have been not too long after, about 2-3 months after, I spoke to the ex-coordinator recently. And when he mentioned the names that were killed, I was shocked. I know for sure that one from Mayaro, he ended up in a robbery. He actually robbed the coordinator's son. And they were all at the same center. So the live sport program, it really had a good idea. It really had a good idea.
Which just makes the point. Which just makes the point with the proper accountability. This is something that one should look forward to bringing back if, in fact, it did work in some areas. Listeners, you're listening to Brunch on 107.7. Our guest this morning is Nicholas Griffith, 28-year-old football coach. Before I ask you about some of the challenges facing your current team and your preparation right now, you made a point earlier I just need some clarification on. Anika Dove recently, another celebrated contributor in the community, in the Shikwanis community, made the point that governments can pass as much legislation as they want. However, it is up to the community. You said you had not received a lot of assistance in the area. I just want to be clear that our listeners are not left with the impression that the parents in the area are not behind this. Have you found the parents of these young men that you have there, they are all willing to chip in more towards this idea you have? Is the community behind you, succinctly put, is my question.
I don't want it to sound bad, but in terms, say, all right, there's a few parents that would support. I must admit that my community, there's a problem in my community. There's a problem. And it's not the whole community, it's not the whole club. But poor parenting is a problem, right? And the kids really a lot of them don't have support from their parents. Sometimes you go to games and you see a big crowd cheering on their members, and you would know that those are the parents cheering on their kids. there's a selected few that will actually come and do that. There's a selected few. If we have games within the community, well, more would come. But if we have to leave and go out of the community, that don't really happen. That would just be a few, probably 5. That would just be a few, about 5.
Not seeking to justify anything. Would this have anything to do with they were with all the means to follow the team to different places? I am attempting to be as fair as I can to the parents, who I am sure must be encouraged by what you're doing. Is the question of mobility, transportation, one of the things that keep them from following the team to other places?
I don't know. I don't know. Because we have a lot of games right within Central. We have tournaments we participate right in Carpichema, Edinburgh 500. And we have one coming up in July right in the Central Indoor Association, which is not too far. I mean, they appreciate what you do because they send the kids willingly, but they don't come out and support. I'm not saying that they don't appreciate it. They appreciate it, but you wouldn't see that support, yes. That amount of interest. You wouldn't see that amount of interest.
You said that you wanted to take
indeed.
Forward?
Yes, as to where we are right now. So you're training. Speak to some of the hurdles and some of the plans you have for the group as far as some of the goals that you have laid out that you're hoping to achieve as a result of this training exercise that you're on right now with the team.
What are some of my what?
Yes, this training here is en route to what specifically? This training that you're doing?
Tournament. It's in a tournament.
Yes, the tournament. I want to find out
on Tuesday.
What you're hoping to achieve this time.
All right, good. Well, the reason for this age group that I chose is because they have the age for college, right? A few of them are in A-level classes, 2 or 3. As I told you, I'm attached to Shogunas North Secondary, so the majority of players would be from that school, as well as the club. It's linked to the school. What I want, definitely, is probably some chances for scholarships, because there are actually 14 college coaches, and the majority of them would come to this age group that we are playing in. So I'm seeking after some opportunities for players. That is exactly what I'm looking for. Seeking after academic opportunities, probably to get full, partial scholarships to the United States here. Okay. That is my whole intention.
The natural question that would arise is, how did you happen to get funding on the road to Orlando? How was it for you?
Get funding. we have our fundraisers as usual. Last year we went to Canada. We haven't had much support. I could tell you that in the beginning. We have never had support from governmental bodies all along the road. That has never happened. We funded our own trips last year when we went to Canada. Barbecues, curricues, parents, tickets. This year, the same thing. The only difference is very late. But we still appreciate we received uniforms and some assistance for some of the players with AFA. Very late, right? Very late. We got from our MP, Stephen Kiddies. He helped with the uniforms and Prime Minister Office Sports and Culture Fund. They decided they would help with a few of the tickets, which we really appreciate, because that was probably the only group that has stepped up, whether late, whether early. We did do something. But apart from that, we literally don't have support. We don't have a sponsor. We don't have support. Everything happens on our own.
But that late bit of support would have come after the Prime Minister visited Crowntrees in the height of...
That would have been probably 2 days before.
2 days before she visited?
Yeah.
Okay, well...
I like the commentary and the follow-up, yes.
Yeah, we're all lucky in an elections here. I hope it continues for you.
I really hope that it continues, because the fact about it is that it's for the community, When you work, the amount, if you do positive things for the youth, it would change the whole shape of the community. And if we have received a lot more support, there are a lot more kids we would have liked to carry over. And you never know how this experience can change the heart, the mind of a young man, who have come and participated in an international tournament. And I think they need to really understand that the community needs it. It's look at what has happened. And I am thinking now, if we would have had more support in times gone by, maybe the community may not have came down to this.
To the situation. There are a lot of people who are listening to us right now who would be mindful of what you're saying. And even if governments or other organizations don't step up, individuals may want to. Is there a telephone number and or an email where folks can get in touch with you to support more of what you're doing, even if they are from outside of the area?
Of course, our email address is crowntracefc@hotmail.com.
crowntracefc@hotmail.com. All right.
Yeah, and they can contact us at the 682-6901.
Nicholas, I can take my hat off, but that would not be enough. I can tell you how much I appreciate it. That would not be enough. What you're doing, however, know that you are indeed a beacon for a lot of people to follow. Your personal experience and what you're doing with these kids, Sharmain, I don't think we can put them on a high enough of a level, because there was no, usually when folks start doing something, there is something behind it. But when you start doing it and the only thing behind you is your heart and your sense of community, it puts you just at the very top of Everest as far as I'm concerned.
And we do hope that your what you do is used as a template for other communities, and that people who are trying would be heartened. And as well, if there are people trying in other at-risk communities, and without the success that Nicholas has so far, but as much as you're trying and you need, you can contact us here at Brunch at 1077, and we'll be happy to highlight you. And good luck in your game. You said on Tuesday it's Crown Trace versus FC Plant City Elite, Florida team that you're playing?
Yes. It is against FC Plant City.
Well, can you tell us what the boys have been doing since they arrived? Because since they arrived in Miami, you left there earlier this week.
We arrived last week Tuesday. What they did, because what I told them is that when competition starts, we mean business. So on Friday they went and they do the majority of their shopping. Today's Sunday. Yesterday they went. We actually have access to the parks at Disney because it's the Disney Cup. They went to the parks, Typhoon Lagoon or something like that. They enjoy themselves, but I'm trying not to get them to tire out themselves and lose focus. I keep telling them that don't lose focus because we are here for a specific purpose.
That's right.
Apart, but of course they would see all these different things and they would just can't sit still. Today is one of the most exciting days because our guest players are here. We actually have two guest players from Florida. One is actually a Mexican, and he speaks English. His father is Mexican. He speaks English. And another one from Florida. And they are downstairs actually waiting for me to come back to continue on with the training. So they're very excited. They met with the guest players. We bought goodies for them. They bought goodies for us. And they're going to train and see how they can fit in. And, tomorrow we will have a full field game against one of the guest players' team who he plays with, but are not participating in the tournament.
Referee timeout, going back down to the kids, going back down to doing something meaningful instead of sitting down here and hanging around. Griffith, Nicholas Griffith, very kind of you to join us. You have yourself a wonderful day and good luck, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You're inside Brunch on 107.7. I love that young man.